Hello and welcome to another episode of Man Cave, where we have manly conversations about issues that affect men and that men go through on a daily basis. I'm Eric Latif. In today's episode, we want to focus on resilience, the power of resilience and the power of daring to do, to be. Our guest today is somebody who has worked in the corporate sector in the country for various organizations in the world. And then when he ended up in Kenya, he decided, I want to do something for myself and by myself. So he ventured into business. Now, a number of challenges. Number one, he is not a Kenyan by nationality. Number two, he has never lived in Kenya before he took up the job that he was doing in Kenya. And number three, starting a business in Kenya has very many challenges, but he had to surmount them. And today, he is running a series of successful restaurants in the country. Rajiv Sehgal is our guest. Hello, Rajiv.
Thanks, Eric, for having me.
Good to have you. So, I've just done the introduction that you worked for an organization in Kenya. It's an African-wide organization, but before that, you had worked for many. So, just give us who Rajiv is.
Well, I'll take on from where you left. So after I did my engineering and my master's from India, New Delhi, I got an opportunity to work with various big corporations and Fortune 500 companies like Bank of America, BNP Paribas, GE Capital, etc. before coming to this continent and this country with Airtel, which is the telecom operator. So I left my home in 2011 when I went to Nigeria. So I worked for about 3 years there, and then I moved to the head office of the telecom company that I worked for here in Kenya, and then spent another couple of years. Now, having done that brief introduction, let me jump straight to the point where, which happens with everybody, your viewers, etc. What I call the midlife crisis starts hitting you when you're touching 40s or mid 40s. And I think that's something which was happening to me, I realized.
Yeah.
And although, I was working with great companies at reasonably good salaries, so the life was
Senior
comfortable. Senior positions. There was no challenge to get into something which was more difficult, which would have brought me out of my comfort zone, etc. But I think as a lot of people would identify with me, that besides everything, when you do a thing for a little too long, somewhere I think you start getting itchy. And to me, I think that was the starting point where I said I have to do something. And therefore, this corporate life cannot continue forever. I didn't see myself retiring with either Airtel or a big corporation. So, although when I took that call, many would say it's already late because I was in the mid 40s, right? So that's possibly past your prime.
Yeah.
But then I realized sooner the better. So here I am sitting in front of you taking that call.
So you decided to respond to the itch.
Yes.
And what was the itch telling you?
Well, the itch wasn't unfortunately telling me much.
Yeah.
It was just telling me that, Rajiv, you got to do something. But what that was is possibly a very difficult thing to identify. And any young or a middle-aged person who's now thinking of doing something of his own would realize that yes, it's very easy to have fancy ideas, and it's very easy to say, I'm not liking this one, let me do something.
Yeah.
But to define that something and turn it into a business model, and that business model turning profitable, and those profits yielding revenues, and those revenues giving you some money for you and your family to survive in a foreign country, I think that whole chain is a lot more difficult than people realize it is.
Okay.
I've learned it the hard way, and in retrospect, I'm glad I took that call. But in hindsight, if I had known the challenges that existed in front of me, would I have done that? Is anybody's guess.
You'd never have taken this thing. So today, Rajiv runs the Mayura restaurant.
Yes.
Very successful, several branches in Nairobi and in Mombasa, and the library as well.
Yes.
At the Sarit Center. So, how did you start? How did you then listen to your itch and the itch drive you towards not the financial sector where you'd worked before, not the telecom sector where you worked before, but you decided to go into a totally different thing, hospitality. How?
Yes, and that's interesting because having worked with telecom and in sales and marketing, and particularly telecom is really a IT company. There's a lot of IT behind it, and the segment that I was handling, which was the corporate segment, has obviously a lot of technicality behind it.
Yeah.
Because we're selling undersea cables, bandwidths, value-added services, etc. So the natural extension of that would have been that why don't I do something in the field that I know, whether in terms of value-added services, etc. And that was a time when, and it still is, a lot of my friends who were taking similar calls were venturing into value-added services, or setting up a telecom shop, or doing something which was somehow related to
something
the
that
field
they
of
know
expertise.
and that they're good at.
True.
Yeah.
Now, in my case, there were a few things, Eric, I was clear about. One, I wanted to do something which is different, because that was really the whole fun and the motivation of leaving the job in the first place. If I were to start something on my own, doing reasonably the same thing that I have been doing for so long, then I think the single biggest motivation that JD factor should not be there. I wouldn't have liked that at all. And secondly, obviously, a lot of my friends and well-wishers told me that you're taking a wrong call because you're venturing into something which you know nothing about.
Yeah.
So therefore, the chances of failure are that much higher. Yes, you listen to all, but at the end of the day, you have to make a call, right or wrong. Only time will tell. But so I took that call for a few reasons, which I can share with you. One, I'm a very social person. I love talking to people. I love meeting new people, and I always wanting to be in an area or a field or a business which allows me to do that. And I think this is one business clearly which is where you get an opportunity to make new friends every single day.
Yeah.
And also, when I was in Nigeria, I had similar thoughts, but somehow I did not get the confidence in that country for investing my hard-earned money, right? But when I came to Kenya and worked here for a couple of years, I think the ecosystem somehow, what you call that vibe, was a little conducive. So it gave me that added bit of little extra thirst that yes, Rajiv, you can invest your money and hopefully things will work out.
In Man Cave, we like to look at it from the angle of the man. So very many men today are at that point where they're thinking, I want to do something different. I want to venture, I want to take a risk. But then they look back and they think, okay, I've got a wife, I've got children, they're going to school. I have to take care of them. I've got to convince the wife that this is the route to take. And she's got to see what I'm seeing. And then beyond that, there's the extended family. So how did you navigate that? How did you navigate the conversation? Sit down with the mama and telling her, okay, so this is what I'm thinking. And then the in-laws, the extended family, your own family, and trying to convince them.
Well, that will always happen. And anyone who's thinking of leaving a cushy job or even not having a job but starting something of his or her own will have the same thought and same challenges. And I'll tell you two very simple tricks that I have learned which helped me navigate through, just to answer your question. And I think whenever you start thinking, okay, this is not the right time because I'm surrounded by so many challenges. What is my, I have family commitments, my son is going to school, university, I need a fixed pay at this point in time. Let me tell you, it will always be there. So there is no right time or the best time to take that call. So what I have learned is earlier the better. If you're thinking of taking a call, then take the call today. Because the challenges are not going to be disappearing, right? So they're going to be either worsening or stay the same, even if you sit down and think about it 2 years hence. So that's point number one. But what has helped me immensely is two simple tricks. One is, and both are intangibles. It's got nothing to do with finance, the amount of money that you have, etc.
Yeah.
I think in your mind, you just have to think two things. One is, what is it that I like doing? what is it that I know I can do well, without getting into spreadsheets or PowerPoint
What makes me
presentations, etc. It's just an inner thought. You reflect on yourself and saying, what is it that you can do well? And let's say, and I'll relate it with my example so that possibly people who are watching me can understand a little better. I certainly knew that I can talk well. I certainly knew that I connect with people well. I certainly knew that if there is something which involves making the other person happy and comfortable while being in my surrounding, I have that skill set. So that intuitively, fit into the hospitality segment. And when I was thinking of restaurants, I said, okay, customers, will they be happy with me? The answer was yes. Can I make them comfortable? Can I do, go that extra mile to make the customer happy? The answer was, so it ticked the boxes for me in terms of what I could do or what I was good at. And secondly, second thing which comes is the finances, right? Because any business requires money. So it's important for anyone who's thinking of doing the business to draw a boundary in his mind, which is, what is it that you can forego without, impacting your life or your loved one's life?
Right.
Which is, let's say, for example, if you've got 100 shillings with you, right, and you say, okay, I need it, etc., but if nothing happens, even if I lose 50, 60 shillings out of the 100 that I have, the 20, 30, 40, yes, I will be tight, my family will be tight, but I will not be in a situation where I will have to take some drastic measures.
Right.
So I think you draw that boundary. Once you've drawn that boundary and you're clear in terms of what you want to do, then the answers automatically start coming, which is, okay, whatever you want to do, if that boundary is clear that you're willing to lose that amount of money for the sake of, learning, adventure, at least, your self-esteem, whatever be the reason, you should do it. And chances are things work out in a manner that none of us can imagine. So unless you do it, they say fortune favors the brave. It's quite true.
So that bravery is the first step. And then getting to do it, getting to learn, getting to fail, to fall and stand up. How many times have you had to fall and stand up in this hospitality business alone?
Many times, Eric. I mean, this, and I again go back to a lot of readings that I have done and a lot of cliches, so as to say, that I have read in various books, So, and whenever I used to read biographies or read books or even see interviews, I used to think I know that, like, say for example, I said one cliche, fortune favors the brave, or there's no shortcut to success, or patience is the virtue, or all of these are very cliches.
All these things by motivational speakers and all.
True, and you'll hear everybody saying, and I used to ignore. When you start your business, you realize how important these lines are, and they time and again reinforce your belief in the fact that they sound cliches to you, but they are pillars and fundamentals of any business.
Really?
If you don't have patience, you will not go very far. If you don't work hard, you are bound to fail.
Okay, Rajiv. Just let's pick three, all right? Show me how they've applied to your life in business. Fortune
Pick one.
Favors the brave.
Oh, well. When I was thinking of setting up my first restaurant in Kenya, I had no background. I had nothing to show. I had nothing to prove.
Right.
And when I was approaching the potential mall owners or landlords, etc., the first thing they used to say is, you don't have any experience, and we can't give you a prime location to a newbie. I mean, had it been an art cafe or a Java house, things would have been different. But
Yeah.
A newbie with no brand recognition, no name, they were not willing to give me the prime location. But one thing I was clear, that unless it is the prime location, you will not be able to get the required footfall into your shop. So it was a little bit of a catch-22 that was there. But I kept working towards, let's say for example, let's talk specifics. The first one I opened in the Hub Mall. And when I was approached the mall manager and the mall management, they refused it. They said, no, we can't give you the space. Then I went back to a consultant in India. I said, this is what I want to do. You make a blueprint or a plan which I can sell to the potential people. So I worked hard. He worked out something for me. I came back after a month. I said, I have a plan. Why don't you just look at it? So he looked at the plan and he again rejected it. Then, if I had given up, then things would have fallen flat, but I did not. Then I called the consultant. I said, you come over, right? If he's not convinced with me, he
You
will,
convince
because
him.
you have the experience
Right.
and I have the drive. So he came in, we had a joint meeting, and that was when the ice started breaking. And that's when they realized, yes, there is a plan, there is a seriousness around it, and therefore potentially we can give the location that I desired. And finally the stone cracked. So as I said, if you keep working hard, keep pushing, things eventually will work out.
Yeah.
And I've seen so many examples over the past 6 years that I've been in this business. I can go on and on.
So that's one lesson. So which is the other one that you're saying?
Well, there's no shortcut to success.
Yes.
Or perseverance is the key, right? Let me give you an example of perseverance in this business. Okay? We are perhaps the only restaurant inside SGR terminals in both Nairobi and Mombasa. Inside the SGR
This
terminals.
is at Syokimau Terminus.
Syokimau terminus
And
as well as
Miritini,
Miritini.
Mombasa.
That's right.
Right.
And again, that was one thing which I really wanted to do, because somehow this fanciness about being present at a location which is the hub of activity for any country. Obviously JKIA was my first choice, saying, okay, if you have a presence in JKIA, you are sorted, because to the outside world
Visibility.
you have a visibility.
Yeah.
But of course, things always don't work out the way you want to. So you keep persisting, you keep following up, etc. And I said, if it's not JKIA, what's the next best, landmark infrastructure of Kenya? It's the SGR. And by virtue of the fact that I had already proven that with Mayura, people like the quality, people like the service, etc. So I said, if I formally apply, I have a fair chance to do something for people, to give them quality food and quality service. And I think I followed up a lot. I kept persevering. I made presentations. I told them we have merit, that people deserve to get good food inside the terminus, etc.
Yeah.
So finally, perseverance pays off. So we got the first opportunity in Nairobi, and then of course when Kenya Railways saw the fact that we are doing a good job in Nairobi, then getting Mombasa was easy.
So in the life of business, there are very many ups and downs. There are many decisions that people make as an entrepreneur, as a business manager, that at some point will just get you down. Dealing with the authorities, dealing with your own staff, dealing with the community, your clientele, and all those are challenges. Now, I'm looking at it from the point of, this is somebody who decided, I want to start a business, and you've already gotten into the business, and at some point, as a man, ego is a big thing. So you start, introducing yourself. I'm Rajiv, Mayura. That's me. How do you keep yourself grounded?
Well, I don't have to do much hard work there because my customers keep me grounded. And I'll tell you why. Because, this is a business where ego is your biggest enemy. And this is a business where virtually, again, and I'll use another cliche, customer is the king. And it is true. Because when a customer is entering your shop and he's willing to spend shillings in your shop, he has every right to expect the sun and the moon and the earth or the heaven, right? Because he's spending his hard-earned money into your shop.
Yeah.
And therefore, and this is a food business, right? So this is, we don't make food by robots, right? We don't, this is a handcraft. And particularly Indian food is infinite mixture of flavors and spices, etc. So the end result is human based, and humans tend to go wrong sometimes. Although we try not to very hard, but things do go wrong, and sometimes you do not come to the expectation of the customer. Sometimes he doesn't like the butter chicken. Sometimes he won't like the dal. Sometimes he won't like the naan. So when such a thing happens and you're not coming to the expectation of what the customer deserves, if you start taking a stand to that, no, you don't even know what the Indian food is, and I am an expert in cooking Indian food.
Yeah,
how dare you tell me that this is not good?
Right.
It doesn't work, and rightly so. I'm saying it is not what you think is important. It's what the customer who's spending the money in your restaurant wants that is important. So I think there you have to completely downplay your ego and understand what he is wanting and try and improve it. Yes, I'm not saying customer is also right 100% of the times. But the fact is that the priority always goes to the person who's spending the money. And therefore, I would say in this business, or I would hazard to say that in any business, ego has no role to play.
Yeah. Then there's the issue of managing the business in terms of cash flows and looking at the debts that you have and with the expansion plans that you have. Now many people struggle with that because the first thing that you thought as an entrepreneur is you had an idea and a good idea and you got your first break. Now everything else now starts becoming too much of a technicality. How do you bring in, let's say, external support or upskilling yourself to make sure that you understand everything, all aspects of your business?
I think for any new business, that's perhaps I would say the most important thing, because you are the top boss and you're also the last person in the chain, and the buck has to stop with you. So whilst I don't think anyone can be an expert in all the areas or all the fields, but I think more than the skill, it's really the overall control and guidance of the business that you should be clear on. And of course, as you go along, as you expand, then you tend to get the relevant manpower in place. But that's a learning that you would get as you get along in the process of discovery. When you start, of course, you have to be the be all and end all of everything. So a new business does require you to be a good manager, a good accountant, a good HR person, a good tax consultant, everybody.
A good marketer.
And a good marketer, you're right.
As we conclude, Rajiv, you started by saying this was, what men go through. You get to a point, a certain age, and you're feeling, I want something that identifies me, not me for who I work for, me for what I do. It's just me for my passion, for what I can bring forth. Now, that is something that very many people go through. Have you outgrown it? Or does the bug stay with you for a long time?
The beauty of business is that the bug never goes away. And that's one thing I've learned, that whichever business you start or whichever business you are in, you do one thing. Suppose you do that thing not reasonably good as per your expectation. So the bug is that let me reach that level of excellence and expertise that is required. Once you reach that, then the bug is how do I grow? How do I expand? And especially I've been fortunate to be in this business in this country because the opportunities that it throws at you is immense. So it's only your own thought which is a constraint. Otherwise, as the cliche says, the sky is the limit. So that is the truth for hospitality business in Kenya.
Thank you very much, Rajiv, for sharing your story.
Thank you so much, Eric.
All the best. Lovely restaurants. Yes, I've been to the Mayura, and now we are in the library.
Yes.
Very well done as well.
And again, the fortunate part is people are liking this concept, a combination of books, teas and coffees, where you can just come in and not only read a book, which is a dying art at this point in time.
Yeah.
Our children and youngsters are more glued to the digital tablets and the phones, etc.
Yeah.
But I think some of the old school people like me still love to pick up a book and go through the physical pages.
Turn the pages.
Turn the feeling of turning the page,
Yeah.
the smell of a book. I think all of those things is what a lot of our clients also cherish, so which is a good thing.
Thank you very much. And that's Man Cave for today. Just like you've heard from Rajiv, when the itch comes, just go ahead, think of something that you want to do and take the risk. All right? It's a learning journey. Just set forth on your journey. I'm Eric Latif. Thank you for watching.